Hi. Today we're going to talk about the distributive property, which is pretty key when it comes to simplifying algebraic expressions. So just as a recap, what is the distributive property? Well, the distributive property basically says, if I have a number next to something in parentheses, then for everything that's inside my parentheses, I multiply it by that number. Then you might say, what does that mean? Well, let's do an example. Say we have 5, and then in parentheses, 2 plus 3. Right? And we know that if we have something next to something in parentheses, we're going to multiply it by that. And if we were to do this the normal way, we say, okay, I'm going to evaluate what's inside the parentheses first, and then multiply it by 5. I'm going to get 5 times 5. I'm going to get 25. But there's another way that I can solve this problem. And so instead of doing that, I'm going to take my 5 and distribute it across this entire parentheses. That's why we call it the distributive property. I'm going to take this 5, and I'm going to multiply it by 2. And I'm going to take this 5, and I'm going to multiply it by 3. You might say, well, hold on, I have to still get the same answer, because I know that this way, the way that I'm used to, gets me 25. Does this way get me 25? Well, 5 times 2 is 10, and 5 times 3 is 15. When we add them together, we get 25. So yes, this distribution method, or the distributive property, does indeed work. Let's do another example. Say I have 3 times 3 minus 1. And I want to use the distributive property. I'm going to take this 3 and multiply it by this 3. I'm going to keep this sign here, so minus, but I'm going to multiply this 3 by this 1. Get 9 minus 3, which is 6. And just to check my work, if I were to do this the traditional way, inside the parentheses first, 3 minus 1 is 2, and 3 times 2 is 6. So both ways get us the same answer. And now you might be saying, well, okay, I learned this new method, but how does this help me in algebra? Well, in algebra, we can't do our old method, where we find what's inside the parentheses first. Because if we have something like 4 times x plus 1, we can't evaluate the parentheses because we don't know what x is. We need to use the distributive property. In this case, we're just going to simplify this expression, right? Get rid of these parentheses. And for that, we use the distributive property. So, I'm going to multiply 4 by x. That is 4x. I'm going to add 1. I'm going to keep this symbol here, this sign, symbol here. I'm going to multiply 4 by 1. So I get 4x plus 4 as my final answer. So the distributive property is really, really handy anytime you're dealing with actual algebraic equations and expressions, because you can't really have any other way to simplify them when you're dealing with parentheses like this. Another important thing, the distributive property can be used for more than 2 things inside that parentheses. For example, say I have 50 times 5 plus 3 plus x. I can use the distributive property to multiply 5 by 50. That's 250. Keep this sign here, plus 50 times 3. That's 150. Keep this sign here, so I can just bring this sign down, just like I brought this sign down. I don't change the signs. I don't change whether we're multiplying or dividing or adding or subtracting. I just change the numbers, and I do 50 times x, which is 50x. So using the distributive property, I just take this, and I multiply it by each of the terms, the numbers or the variables, inside my parentheses. And we can do this for infinitely many terms. We did it for two things inside of parentheses. We did it right now for 3 things inside our parentheses, we can do it for any number of things we have inside our parentheses. And that is the magic of the distributive property. It makes your life a whole lot easier. That's it. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped, and I hope you have a great day.